संसारधावा नललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्य गणगणात्वं नललीढलोका त्राणाय कारुण्य गणगणात्वं प्राप्तस्य कल्याण गुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् अरविन्दं महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्यगीता वादित्र्यमाद्यान् मनसूरसेना महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्यगीता वादित्र्यमाद्यान् मनसूरसेना रोमञ्चकम्पा श्रुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यनानां शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तां शनियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो स्वादन्न तृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्गान् चतुर्विधा श्री भगवत्प्रसादो कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्नाम् प्रतीक्षणास्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसीद्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया निकुञ्जयूनो रतिकेलिसीद्यै यायालिभिर्युक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रादिदाक्षात् अतिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् साक्षादरीत्वेन समस्तशास्त्रैर्युक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः समस्तशास्त्रैर्युक्तस्तथा भाव्यत एव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभोया प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि किन्तु ध्यायं स्तुवन्तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यान् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् ध्यायं स्तुवन्तस्य यशस्त्रीसन्ध्यान् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् चरणरविन्दम् नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
ISKCON founder Acharya BPT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramhamsa Prajaka Acharya Ashtota Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haritasa Thakur ki jai. Premise Koho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Gauradhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Shri Ganga Mai ki jai, Shri Amuna Mai ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to assembled devotees, all glory to assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru and Gaurang, all glory to Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladadayine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilatankanakalaye. Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha. Yato yato yami tato Narasimha. Vahe Narasimha Hridaye Narasimha. Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade. Tava Karakamalavare-nakam Arbudashingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu. महाराज, नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय विष्णु भक्ति देवी सतीते नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय विष्णु भक्ति देवी सतीते नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य विष्णु भक्ति पदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय विष्णु भक्ति देवी सतीते नमो नमः। की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी, नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी, राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषी, कृष्ण सेवा पावो कि तुम्हार शरण लो तरवांच पूर्ण हो, कृपा कोरी कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी, मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंज दियो अभिलाष विलास कुंज नयने हेरिबो सदा युगल रूपरासी, निविधन धरो सखीरानुगत करो, सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी, दीन कृष्ण दासी को ये न मोरा होय, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमी सदा ये न भासी, श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमी सदा ये न भासी, नमो प्रेयसीना यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, नित्य गौरा हरि बो, हरि बो, हरि बो, नित्य गौर हरि बो, हरि बो, हरि बो, हरि बो, नित्य गौर हरि बो, जय जय प्रभुपा, 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 जय जय प्रभुपा, जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव, 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 जय जय गुरुदेव। वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। वृंदायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। वृन्दायै तुलसीदेवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः। कृष्ण भक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमः। वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
Oh, Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is just to serve Krishna, Radha, and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter from my security, bestow mercy upon me and give me residence in the Lama. My desire that you also grant me residence in special lotus feet down the Lama. Thus within my wish, I shall always behold the peaceful Plasma Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of the Lord, order of preference. Please give me the permission in devotional service and make me own mason, the very fallen lowly of the Krishna. Praise. May always Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam Yeto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahatava Nidavapanam Shriya Kairava Santika Vitaranam Yavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipradam Purnarmita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnapanam Haram Jayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namnamakari Bahuda Nitya Sarva Shakti Tattravita Niyamita Smaranina Kala Edadishi Tava Kripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durujavami Dishyami Bhajani Nanurakaha Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari Nathanam Nachanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jamanishware Bhavata Bhaktir Haitukitvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Shame Pavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Duri Tatesham Chintaya Nayanam Karatashru Daraya Bhadanam Gadgada Rudaya Gira Kulakai Nichitam Apurukada Tava Nama Grahane Bhavishyati Yukaitam Nimishena Chatusha Pravisha Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahite Name Ashisava Padratam Pinnastumam Adarsanam Marmahatam Karotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vidbhatu Lampado Madprana Natha Sukadeva Naparaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam Ki Jai. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendent knowledge. It increases the ocean transcendent bliss and enables to fully taste the nectar of which we are always anxious. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone grant all benediction to humanity, and thus has hundreds of millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendent names, you are dressed in all your transcendent energy. You are not in the heart and fast roots by chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness enable us to easily approach you by holy names. But I'm so unfortunate I have no attractions for them. makes me broken-hearted and not being present before him. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for it's all my worship of God unconditionally. There are 10 senses in the matter chanting holy names that should be widely, and they are as follows. 1. 2. Because when devotees have dedicated life for the purification of the name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods, Lord Shiva, Brahma, to be equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the wickedness of the spiritual sins with vague worship. 5. To consider glorious chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the name of the Lord. 7. To commit sins, activities, and strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna was auspicious for truth activities, often evaded the fruit activities, karma. 9. To instruct faces specified glory holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to inattentive watching. Every devotee who claims to Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 senses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna fame. Now let us promote our book instances of all Vaishnava devotees below.
Dear teachers, I wish to reach and understood that everyone under full compassion the following petitions for you. Vanchako Patarutishta Kripasindu Krivacha Patitanam Pavnubhyo Vaishvabhyo Namo Namaha. And let the holy Vaishnavas repeat.
Shri Mangala Charana prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Chakshum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapandantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ratnatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanditamscha Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachadesha Tarini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vidyana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktita Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinadarine Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Saksha Vairagya Mutaye Vikralambara Sambodhe Vadam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhaktivinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumistvam Nirdishta Sajanakriya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Jaganathaya Te Namaha Vanchakalpadrubhyascha Kripasindudevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauravishte Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakham Namami Bhaktashaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kantara Kanta Namaste Jayatam Surapurna Murti Matsarva Swapadam Shrimad Radha Simhasanastito Shrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prastari Bihi Sevyamanu Smarami Shrimad Rasa Rasarambi Tatastita Karsan Venuswanir Gopinata Striyestuna
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Arte Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chentamani Prakara Satma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vritesa Surabhira Vipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Chentamani Prakara Venim Konantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Kotikamaniya Visesa Sobam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandrakala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Leli Kalavilasam Shyamam Jibangala Litani Taprakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendri Vrittimanti Pasyanti Pantikariyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Madhyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastakoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manasamuni Pungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Jaitam Jagadanda Koti Koti Yes Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Chayadantan Dantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Bhava Bhavita Diyo Marjasta Daiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayanabusa Suktaryam Eva Nikama Pratitastuvanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasarpati Bhavita Bhistabe Evani Jirupataya Kalabi Goloka Evani Visata Kilatma Bhutto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santoksa Deva Hidesa Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murta Sukalani Menitistana Avatar Makarod Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramampamamyo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Bhavato Jagananda Koti Koti Svasesa Vasadadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahmanis Kalamanantamasesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Jaigunya Tadvisaya Veda Vitayamanam Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Satmataya Manasuya Praninam Patifilam Smaratam Ubedya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajam Nichu Lokanam Nichitam Nitarichitasya Devi Mahesuri Dhamma Sute Sutesha Tete Prabhamini Jaya Vitascha Yena Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Sististati Palaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Jayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chitestatesa Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Siram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjaya Tena Hitata Pritikasti Hetu Yasam Bhutama Pitala Samapaitika Yat Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dipatsari Vidasantanam Abhyupetya Dipayate Vritahita Samanu Dharma Yastadrik Eva Hicha Visnutaya Vivati Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Akarna Narda Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagadama Saroma Kupa Adhara Satyam Avalambya Paranswamurtyam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Asyaikani Svasita Kalamata Avalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalaviseso Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesana Jesu Teja Swayam Kiyat Prakatayata Bitat Pratat Kramarmaya Isa Jagadana Vidanu Karta Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Pala Vyugam Vinidaya Kumbhadvandi Purnama Samayesa Ganati Raja Vignam Vidhanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahika Ganamamu Vanutisas Chakalas Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visantiyam Cha Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sagala Grahanam Raja Samasta Surumutira Sesa Teja Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Tamaham Bajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapamsi Brahma Dikita Patagavati Estijiva Data Matra Vibhava Prakadapa Bhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Astrinda Gopa Matavendra Maso Swakarma Bandhan Rupa Valabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdhati Kinchita Bhakti Bhaja Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Yam Kruda Kamasa Jabraya Dibiti Vatsalya Mohaguru Guru Vasavya Bhava Sanchintya Tasha Sadasantana Purita Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Pusha Kalpatara Vajamabu Mischintamani Ganama Itoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apimas from Siprasa Kichidanandam Jyoti Paramapitasa Asvadyam Apicha Sayatra Siradi Bhisavadi Sirabri Byasta Sumahan Minime Sardakyo Vavajiti Nahiya Tribisamaya Pajay Sveta Dvipam Tamaha Ikolo Kam Itiyam Vidantaste Santakshiti Viracharakati Paya Siguru Vastika Prayers Kiche. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicting world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. Out from my respectful basin of the lotus feet, such spiritual master, who's an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing, and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. Over from my respectful basin of the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. Spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engaged his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. Offer my respectful basin of the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is least chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful basin of the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant, but the unlimited conjugal pastimes, erotic and modern, their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful basis of the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is very dear because he's expert in assisting the gopis, who at different times make different tastes and resonate for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavan. I offer my most humble basis of the lotus feet of such spiritual master. A spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in order of the scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful basis of the lotus feet of such spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisance of the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 6, Verse number 35. Itat Kshatar Bhagavato Daivam Karmatma Rupina Kashadadyad Upakartun Yogamaya Bolodayam. Itat, this, Shata, Ovidura, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Daiva Karma Atma Rupina, of the gigantic form of transcendental work, time and nature. Ka, who else? Shadha, Dyat, can aspire. Upakartam, measure in totality. Yogamaya, internal potency. Bala Udayam, manifested by the strength of. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Vidura, who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The froggish philosophers may go on with their mental speculations on the subject matter of the Virat, the gigantic form exhibited by the Yoga Maya, internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But factually, no one can measure such a vast exhibition. In Bhagavad Gita 11.63, Arjuna, the recognized devotee of the Lord, says, Anika bahudara vaktranetam pasyami tvam sarvato nantarupam nantam navadmadyam napunas tavadim pasyami niveshvara vishvarupa. O my Lord, O gigantic Vishwarupa form, O Master of the universe, I see innumerable hands, bodies, mouths, and eyes in all directions, and they are all unlimited. I cannot find the end of this manifestation, nor do I see the middle, nor the beginning. Bhagavad Gita was specifically spoken to Arjuna, and the Vishwarupa was exhibited before him at his request. He was awarded the specific eyes to see this Vishwarupa, yet, although he was able to see the Lord's innumerable hands and mouths, he was unable to see him completely. Since Arjuna was unable to estimate the length and breadth of the potency of the Lord, who else would be able to do so? One may only indulge in miscalculation like the frog philosopher. The frog philosopher wanted to estimate the length and breadth of the Pacific Ocean by his experience of a well 3 cubic feet large, and thus he began to puff himself up to become big as the Pacific Ocean. But at last, he burst and died by this process. This story is applicable to the mental philosophers who, under the illusion of the Lord's external energy, indulge in estimating the length and the breadth of the Supreme Lord. The best path is to become a cool-headed, submissive devotee of the Lord. Try to hear about the Lord from the bona fide spiritual master, and thus serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, as suggested in the previous verse. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O Vidura, who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Well, this more or less validates what we have been saying and studying recently, and that is the unending space in the universe that scientists will never be able to actually measure correctly. And in the material body, the same principle is there. There's unending eternal, and unlimited production of cells and then biological chemicals and innumerable chromosomes and all these things. Also, a huge number of sperm and ovums are produced, and all different types of chemicals, and then all the living entities within the body, and then the DNA, which is not a living entity, but has all the information or most of the information for forming a body. There's so many things that are incomprehensible in the human body, just as there are so many things incomprehensible in the universe. So both are beyond the scope of science, modern materialistic science. So unless we have a unified understanding of spirit and matter, we will never be able to unravel the mysteries of the universe. Will we be able to unravel all the mysteries of the universe? No, because they're eternally expanding. But we can get a good idea of the expansiveness and infinite nature of everything in the universe and everything in the body. We will never be able to understand everything, but we can understand up to 78% of these imponderables. Okay, so this is also explained by Srila Prabhupada in the second morning walk of Life Comes from Life. And the title is Darwinism Extinct. Srila Prabhupada writes, this material world is a composition of three qualities, sattva, rajas, and tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, which are working everywhere. These three qualities are present in various proportions in all species of life. For example, some trees produce nice fruit, while others are simply meant for fuel. This is due to the association of particular qualities of nature. Among animals also, these three qualities are present. The cow is in the quality of goodness, the lion in passion, and the monkey in ignorance. According to Darwin, Darwin's father is a monkey. He has theorized foolishly. Darwin has said that some species become extinct in the struggle. Oh, this is a devotee. It says, Darwin has said that some species become extinct in the struggle for survival. Those which are capable of surviving will survive, but those who are not will become extinct. So he says survival and extinction go side by side. Srila Prabhupada, nothing is extinct. The monkey is not extinct. Darwin's immediate forefather, the monkey, he is still existing. Devotee, Darwin said there must be a natural selection, but selection means choice. So who is choosing? Srila Prabhupada, that must be a person who is allowing someone to survive and someone to be killed. There must be some authority with discretion to give such an order. That is our first proposition. Who that authority is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Maya Dakshana Prakriti. Nature is working under my supervision. Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Devotee. Darwin also says that the different species were not created simultaneously but evolved gradually. Srila Prabhupada. Then what is his explanation for how the process of evolution began? Devotee. Modern proponents of Darwinism say that the first living organism was created chemically. Prabhupada. And I say to them, if life originated from chemicals, and if your science is so advanced, then why can't you create life biochemically in your laboratories? Next section called In the Future. Devotee. They say they will create life in the future. Prabhupada. What future? When this crucial point is raised, they reply, we shall do it in the future. Why in the future? That is nonsense. Trust no future, however pleasant. If they are so advanced, they must demonstrate now how life can be created from chemicals. Otherwise, what is the meaning of their advancement? They are talking nonsense. Devotee. They say that they are right on the verge of creating life. Srila Prabhupada. That's only a different way of saying the same thing, in the future. The scientists must admit that they still do not know the origin of life. They claim that they will soon prove a chemical origin of life is something like paying someone with a post-dated check. Now, this, of course, was spoken almost 50 years ago, right? So, 50 years now have passed. Still, they don't understand how the universe started, how the first amoeba came into existence, and so forth. They have theories, but a theory is not the fact. So they haven't really progressed in the last 50 years. Their claim that they will soon prove a chemical origin of life is something like paying someone with a post-dated check. Suppose I give you a post-dated check for $10,000, but I actually have no money. What is the value of that check? Scientists are claiming that their science is wonderful, but when a practical example is wanted, they say they will provide it in the future. Suppose I say that I possess millions of dollars, and when you ask me for some money, I say, yes, I will now give you a big post-dated check. Is that all right? If you're intelligent, you reply, at present, give me at least $5 in cash so I can see something tangible. Similarly, the scientists cannot produce even a single blade of grass in their laboratories. Yet they are claiming that life is produced from chemicals. What is this nonsense? It is no one's is no one questioning this. Devotee. They say that life is produced by chemical laws. Srila Prabhupada. As soon as there is law, we must take into consideration that someone made the law. Despite all their so-called advancement, the scientists in their laboratories cannot produce even a blade of grass. What kind of scientists are they? Devotee. They say that in the ultimate analysis, everything came from matter. Living matter came from non-living matter. Srila Prabhupada. Then where is this living matter coming from from now? Do the scientists say that life came from matter in the past, but does not at the present? Where is the ant coming from? From the dirt? Devotee. And it's a new section called the missing link. In fact, there are several theories explaining how life originated from matter, how living matter came from the non-living. Srila Prabhupada. He's putting his Dr. Singh in the role of a materialistic scientist. All right, scientist, why is life not coming from matter now, you rascal? Why isn't life coming from matter now? Actually, such scientists are rascals. They childishly say that life came from matter, although they are not at all able to prove it. Our Krishna consciousness movement should expose all these rascals. They are only bluffing. Why don't they create life immediately? In the past, they say, life arose from matter. And they say that this will happen again in the future. They even say that they will create life from matter. What kind of theory is this? They have already commented that life began from matter. This refers to the past. In other words, in parentheses, began. Then why do they now speak of the future? Is it not contradictory? Then why do they now speak of the future? Is it not contradictory? They're expecting the past to occur in the future. This is childish nonsense. So they say that this happened in the past, that life appeared from matter without anybody involved in it. Matter organized itself. And they say, and when you say, well, okay, can you show us an experiment like that? They say, well, we're working on it. We'll show it to you in the future. He says, does this make sense? They say it happened in the past, but they can't show it now. And if we ask them, they say, well, we'll do it in the future. So it's nonsense, you see. Devotee. They say that life arose from matter in the past and that they will create life in this way in the future. Prabhupada. What is this nonsense? If they cannot prove that life arises from matter in the present, how do they know life arose this way in the past? They are devotee. They are assuming. Srila Prabhupada. Everyone can assume, but this is not science. Everyone can assume something. You can assume something. I can assume something. But there must be proof. We can prove that life arises from life. For example, a father begets a child. The father is living and the child is living. But where is there proof that a father can be a dead stone? Where is there proof? We can easily prove that life begins from life, and the original life is Krishna. That also can be proven. But what evidence exists that a child is born of stone? They cannot actually prove that life comes from matter. They are leaving that aside for the future. It's a brilliant expose by Prabhupada. Devotee. The scientists say that they can now formulate acids, amino acids, that are almost like one-celled living organisms. This is 50 years ago, right? They say that because these acids so closely resemble living beings, there must be just one missing link needed before they can create life. Well, they haven't found the missing link in 50 years. Right? Srila Prabhupada. Nonsense. Missing link? I'll challenge them to their face. Everyone starts laughing. They are missing this challenge. The missing link is this challenge to their face. Next section called Nobel Prize for an Ass. Devotee. Some scientists hope that in the future they will be able to make babies in test tubes. Srila Prabhupada. Test tubes? Devotee. Yes, they intend to combine male and female elements in biological laboratories. Prabhupada. If they begin with living entities, what is the purpose of the test tube? It is only a place for combination. But so is the womb. Where is the credit for the scientists if this is already being done in nature's test tube? Devotee. It is already being done by nature, but when some scientist does it, people will give him the Nobel Prize. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, that is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savid varahostra karai samtusta purusha pasu. This verse indicates that those who praise men who are like animals are no better than dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Sva means dog. Vid, varaha, means stool-eating hog. Ustra means camel. And kara means ass. If the Nobel Prize is given to a scientist who is a rascal, the men on the committee who give him that prize are no better than dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. We don't accept them as human beings. One animal is praised by another animal. Where is the credit in that? If the men on the committee are no better than animals, anyone who receives the Nobel Prize in science is fool number one, because animals are praising him, not human beings. Okay, so that's a very interesting point, because sometimes scientists get Nobel Prize for something that doesn't deserve it. And it's done because of political or selfish interests. Devotee. For some scientists, the Nobel Prize is the ultimate. Srila Prabhupada. They are rascals. They are speaking nonsense. And because they are juggling words, others are being misled. Devotee. Nobel is the person who invented dynamite. Srila Prabhupada. He has created great misfortune, and he has left his money for creating further misfortune. Everyone starts laughing. Devotee. The Gita says that demoniac people perform acts meant to destroy the world. Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Ugra karma. Ukta karma na shayaya jagato hita. Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, 9th verse. They perform acts meant for inauspiciousness and the destruction of the world. Well, you could say that for inorganic chemicals. They've just caused havoc in the world. And I will go over again one more time what I wrote 3 years ago. All the toxic chemicals that come into the body of a human being, every one of us, due to association with these inorganic chemicals. And you'll be shocked. Okay, new section. The difference between the living and the non-living. Srila Prabhupada points at a dead tree with his cane. Srila Prabhupada. Formerly, leaves and twigs were growing from this tree. Now they are not. How would the scientists explain this? Devotee. They would say the tree's chemical composition has changed. Srila Prabhupada. To prove their theory, they must be able to inject the proper chemicals to make the branches and leaves grow again. Whoa, that's impossible. The scientific method includes observation, hypothesis, and then demonstration. Then it is perfect. But the scientists cannot actually demonstrate in their laboratories that life comes from matter. They simply observe and then speak nonsense. They are like children. In our childhood, we observed a gramophone box. In other words, a old-time record player. and thought that within the box was a man singing. So Prabhupada thought there was a little man in the box that was singing. He didn't understand the the technology, how the voice of a man is being produced by the gramophone. In our childhood, Prabhupada said, when I was a boy, we observed a gramophone box and thought that within the box was a man singing an electric man. We thought there must have been an electric man or some kind of ghost in it. Everyone starts laughing. Devotee, one of the popular questions that arises when we start studying biology is, what is the difference between a living organism and that which is not living? The textbooks say that the chief characteristics that distinguish the two are that a living being can move and reproduce, whereas dead matter can do neither. But the books never talk about the nature of the soul or about the consciousness of the living entity. Srila Prabhupada. But consciousness is the primary indication that life is present. Only because of consciousness can a living being move and reproduce. Because a person is conscious, he thinks of marrying and begetting children. And the original consciousness is described as in the Vedas. Tad Aisata Bahushyam, Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3. This means that God, the original conscious being, said, I shall become many. Without consciousness, there is no possibility of byproducts. Next section, the individual living force. Prabhupada. The gardeners supply water to the green trees, so why don't they supply water to this dead tree and make it green? Devotee. From experience, they know that it will not grow. Srila Prabhupada. Then what is the element that is lacking? Scientists say that chemicals are the cause of life, but all the chemicals that were present when the tree was alive are still there, and these chemicals are still supporting the lives of many living entities, such as microbes and insects. So they cannot say that life energy is lacking in the body of the tree. The life energy is there. Wow, amazing statement. In other words, he's saying that there's still living entities in the dead body. And they are like maggots, and the DNA is still in the body, right? So there's something outside of all those living entities still in the body and the DNA that is missing. So what is it? It's definitely not chemicals. All the chemicals are still there. It's the soul. That's the cause of the consciousness. Devotee. But what about life? What about the life energy of the tree itself? Prabhupada. Yes, that is the difference. The living force is individual, and the particular living entity that was the tree has left. This must be the case, since all the chemicals necessary to support life are still there, yet the tree is dead. Here is another example. Suppose I am living in an apartment, and then I leave it. I am gone. But many other living entities remain there, ants, spiders, and so forth. So it is not true that simply because I have left the apartment, it can no longer accommodate life. Other living entities are still living there. It is simply that I, an individual living being, have left. The chemicals in the tree are like the apartment. They are simply the environment for the individual force, the soul, to act through. And the soul is an individual. I am an individual, and therefore I may leave the apartment. Similarly, the microbes are also individuals. They have individual consciousness. If they are moving in one direction, but are somehow blocked, they think, let me go the other way. They have personality. Devotee. But in a dead body, there's no personality. Srila Prabhupada. This indicates that the individual soul has left that body. The soul is left, and therefore the tree does not grow. Devotee. Within the living body, Srila Prabhupada, there are innumerable small living entities, but the individual self who owns the body is also living there. Is that correct? He's talking about a living body. Yes, in my body there are millions of living entities. In my intestines there are many worms. If they become strong, then whatever I eat, they eat, and I derive no benefit from the food. Therefore, those who are full of hookworms eat very much but do not grow. They become lean and thin, and they are very hungry because these small living entities are eating their food. So there are thousands and millions of living entities in my body. They are individuals, and I am an individual, but I am the proprietor of the body, just as I may be the proprietor of a garden in which many millions of living entities reside. Devotee. So if I eat Krishna Prasada, food offered to Lord Krishna, are the living entities in my body also eating Prasada? Srila Prabhupada. Yes. You are very benevolent. He laughs. You are taking Krishna Prasada for others. Devotee. Welfare work? Prabhupada. Yes. But there are so many things within you for them to eat that you do not need to make a separate endeavor to feed them. So there are so many things within you for them to eat that you do not need to make a separate endeavor to feed them. So that's all the living entities in the body. Next section. Minimum words, maximum solution. Srila Prabhupada. The individual soul is never lost. He does not die, nor is he born. He simply changes one body to another, just as one changes garments. This is perfect science. Devotee. But why don't scientists accept this? Prabhupada. They are not nice men. They are rascals. They are not even gentlemen. Under appropriate circumstances, gentlemen will have some shyness or some shame. But these men are shameless. They cannot properly answer our challenges. Yet they shamelessly claim that they are scientists and that they will create life. They are not even gentlemen. At least I regard them like that. A gentleman will be ashamed to speak nonsense. Devotee. They do not think before they speak. Srila Prabhupada. That means that they are not human beings. A human being thinks twice before saying anything. Krishna makes the presence of life within the body so easy to understand. He says, Dehinosmin yata dehi kumaran yuvanam jara tata dehantara praptir diras tatra namuyate. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2.13. In these two lines, Krishna solves the whole biological problem. That is knowledge. Minimum words, maximum solution. Volumes of books expounding nonsense have no meaning. Materialistic scientists are like croaking frogs. Ka, 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 ka. Srila Prabhupada imitates the sound of a croaking frog, and the others laugh. The frogs are thinking, oh, we are talking very nicely, but the result is that the snake finds them and says, oh, here is a nice frog. Srila Prabhupada imitates the sound of a snake eating a frog. Srila Prabhupada, whoop, finished. When death comes, everything is finished. The materialistic scientists are croaking, ka, ka, ka. But when death comes, their scientific industry is finished, and they become dogs, hogs, or something like that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, there's so much information in this second morning walk. And basically, what is it telling us? It's telling us that the scientists are bluffing. They don't have any proof that chemicals produce living beings, or combination of matter produces a living being. In the previous morning walk, the first morning walk, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's one section of it that's extremely interesting. I mean, all of it is interesting, but this one section is very, very interesting, where Prabhupada says, the creation of the material universe is like the growth of a great banyan tree from a tiny seed. No one can see the tree within the seed, but all the necessary ingredients for the tree are there, including the required intelligence. Actually, everyone's body is simply a sample universe. Your body and my body are different universes, small universes. Therefore, all 8 material elements are present within our bodies, just as they are within the whole universe. Similarly, an insect's body is another universe. Devotee, how about the atom? Prabhupada, the same formula applies. All these constituents are within the atom. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Katha Upanishad 1.2.20. This means that whether something is extremely large or infinitesimal, it is still made of the same basic elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. This is true everywhere in the material world, just as a woman's small watch has all the requisite machinery for its smooth functioning, so an ant has all the necessary brain substance to manage its affairs nicely. How is this possible? To answer this properly, you must minutely examine the brain tissues in the ant. But this you cannot do. Moreover, there are innumerable insects smaller than the ant, so there must be a mechanical arrangement for all this detailed activity. But scientists cannot discover it. Okay, so this is extremely interesting. He's saying even the smallest thing that's living has everything in it: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. And everything that's inanimate has also earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind. I don't know about mind, intelligence, but earth, water, fire, air, ether. But it does have also Paramatma, right? So these are amazing statements by Prabhupada. So he says, then in another amazing, brilliant thing, he says, the Vedas instruct us that knowledge must always be considered in terms of desa, kala, patra. Desa means circumstances, kala means time, and patra means the object. We must understand everything by taking these 3 elements into consideration. For example, a fish is living very comfortably in the water, and we are shivering on the shore of the sea. This is because my desa kalapatra and the fish's desa kalapatra are different. But if we conclude that the seagulls will also shiver in the water, that is nonsense. Their desa kalapatra is again different. There are 8,400,000 different species of life in the material cosmic manifestation, and each species must adjust to circumstances differently. Even on this planet, you cannot go live comfortably in Alaska, although it is America. Similarly, the living entities enjoying life in Alaska do not come here. So, this is a very important point. This is why scientists, they go to the moon and they don't see anything. They say, oh, there's nothing here, there's no water, there's nothing. Because you have to, the scientists are assuming that the desa kalapatra of the earth will be the same as the desa kalapatra on the moon or on Mars. But it's not a fact. The desa kalapatra is different on the moon than on the earth. So just like the desa kalapatra is different for the fish that lives in water, and the desa kalapatra is different for the human being that lives on land. Right? They're not the same. Desa means circumstances, kala means time, and patra means the object. So you have to take these three things into consideration. So if you're going to go to Mars and explore it, you have to adjust to the desa kala patra of Mars. Otherwise you won't see anything. Or you go to the moon. Just like the Chinese now are promising that before the end of this, I guess, the decade, they're going to establish a colony on the moon. Okay, we're taking bets right now. You can bet yes or no. And you win. You don't even have to wait till the Chinese fail. Okay, so all this is very interesting because Prabhupada nails everything in a way that you can't argue with him. Of course, the scientists will always argue, but devotees who have undergone purification through Krishna consciousness will agree with what Prabhupada says because he is a pure devotee and he's only speaking based on shastric evidence. He also says a gentleman will be ashamed to speak nonsense. So, but the rascals, they're not ashamed to speak nonsense that misleads people and ruins people's lives. Okay, we'll stop right there. So our lecture today on Canto 3, Chapter 6, verse 35, discussed that it's impossible to estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, meaning the Virat Rupa. Virat Rupa encompasses the whole universe, and it's therefore we'll go over all the statistics tomorrow. There are more statistics that I've found about what's in the universe and what's in the body, and both are impossible to completely understand. They'll never understand these things. And that's what's being said here. Who can estimate or measure the transcendental time, work, and potency? So time is kala, work is karma, and potency is shakti, of the gigantic form manifested by the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whoa, that's something new. The Virat Rupa is manifested from the Yoga Maya, internal potency of the Lord, not Maya. Therefore, they'll never be able to understand this because it's infinite. It's in the fourth dimension. I've written a book called The Fourth Dimension. I don't know if any of you have seen it. You haven't yet. Yeah, so the Virat Rupa is in the fourth dimension. That means it's infinite. They'll never be able to understand it. As they try and understand it and measure something, it increases. So how are you going to be able to catch up to that? Okay. Any questions? Prabhupada is clearly saying scientists are rascals. They're lying. They're bluffing.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this Virat Rupa, you said has the whole material creation or just our material world? Like
No, our material world. There's a different Virat. There's more Virat Rupas.
Okay.
Just like Paramatma is in not only this universe, it's all the universes.
And Maharaj, another question is on, if you can explain one more time that Desha, Kala and Patra. So Desha is circumstance, Kala is time, and Patra is object. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Desa Kala Patra. We need to, if you're going to do research, right, and you assume that whatever is on the earth, it must be there also in other places. That's nonsense. What is there is earth, water, fire, air, ether, that's for sure. And then there are living entities which have more than just those 5 things. They have mind, intelligence, false ego, and the jiva, soul, right? So if you go to the moon and you say, oh, it's just dust, there's nothing there. Nothing according to how we understand it, according to how we understand our body. But the bodies there also have earth, water, fire, air, ether, but in different numbers than ours, right? So the main element of our body is water, and then the second main element is earth, right? But on the moon, the main element is subtle. It's the mind. How are you going to see it? You can't even see your own mind. How are you going to see their body when most of the material of their body is made with mind? And there is some earth, water, fire, air, right? And there is intelligence and false ego. So you see, the composition is different. So the Desa, Kala, Patra is different on the moon than it is on the earth. But the scientists are going to the moon with their Desa, Kala, Patra and making this rule that has to be there on the moon also. Otherwise, there's nothing there for us, and we'll go somewhere else. So that's a big mistake that they're making.
The biggest evidence I would say, like every theory the scientists made is always like contradicted by another scientist or down the line. So there is nothing like always true and is now true and is going to be future also it is true. Everything keeps changing, right?
Because there are things that people will never understand because everything is expanding. So, and there's this, just like you have a boundary called the body, right? But in that body is infinite things. It's mind-boggling, right? And in the universe, there's a boundary to the universe, but yet there are infinite things in that boundary. This doesn't it's not logical for the scientists. They think everything's going to be finite. But yeah, there are boundaries. Those boundaries, you could say, are acting like something finite. But actually, no, not even that. The boundary is also increasing. So, therefore, how are you going to measure it? Scientists have to measure things, right? If you can't measure something, how are you going to identify what it is? Right? So, this is why they're still guessing, and they're promising things in the future. They say it happened in the past, but they're promising that it'll happen again in the future. Does that make sense? That's nonsense. You see how Prabhupada can put his finger on the nonsense? We would take things for granted, right? Before I met Prabhupada, I would have never questioned the scientists.
Yeah.
Most
of the people actually.
Right. We're taught that whatever they're saying is the truth.
They trust it.
Yeah. But when I met Prabhupada and I heard him speaking, I was like shocked. I never heard this before, right? You can actually question the scientists, and you're calling them rascals, and they're cheaters, and they're lying. My God, well, that's a fact, though.
So yesterday,
now he's pointing out specifically their nonsense. They say something happened in the past. You're asking, well, can you do it now? They say, no, but we'll do it in the future. But that is nonsense. That's not science. If it happened in the past, why can't you do it now? Right.
So yesterday, Maharaj, one student from University District, she generally comes sometimes to help on food truck. She's a biological student, and then
biology student.
Yes. Sorry, biology student.
You're the most confused of all.
Yeah. So I asked her to start coming maybe at least Saturday, Sunday. So I think she's good, but in terms of, she was arguing on like how do you explain that the progeny happens because of the sinful acts. So
What? She said that?
yeah,
What was her point? How do you? What was your
her
question?
point was how we'll explain. So we said we were
How do you
discussing
explain what?
the progeny happened because of the sinful acts. Like for example, not the normal pregnancy, but
So
some
you told her that? You
yeah.
told her that? Okay.
She
then
asked me.
She asked you. No,
Yeah.
but you must have said something that prompted her to say that.
No,
Yes.
no. There was I was just discussing with another Prabhuji about.
In other words, she's saying people are engaged in illicit sex.
Yeah.
That why would a living entity be born? Is that
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you get a demon. You see, there's the Yamaraj and authorities. They fit your shoe size, shoe size, right? If you're a demon, then you'll get a demon that's born, because you're engaging in illicit activity. You'll get someone who is like that, right? And if you're in the mode of goodness, then you'll get a child that has those qualities, you know. But if you're cheating, you know, you say you're in the mode of goodness, but you're actually cheating, then you'll get a demon also. That's why you have to explain everything in terms of the three modes of material nature. You understand? Goodness, passion, and ignorance. They control everything. So if someone is in the mode of ignorance, in other words, they're engaging in sinful activities, then, yeah, they'll get a child, but the child is a demon. Right? And we see it all the time. Kids sometimes kill their parents. Sometimes kids have sex with their parents. Sometimes kids leave their parents and never do anything for them, or steal from their parents, right? It's because the parents are demons and they got a child as a demon. Okay? There's one kid, for his birthday, he was like 15 years old. The father bought him a gun. The boy went the next day to school with that gun. He killed 15 kids. It happened some months ago. They're putting the parents in jail. Right? It's the kid's fault, but it's parents' fault too. They bought him a gun for his with bullets and everything for his. I don't know if they gave him the bullets, but he got the bullets somehow or other. He might have stolen from his father. And he went to school and killed 15 kids. Right? Killed a number of kids. You can look it up. You can look it up. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, the kids, and if you see his picture, he looks like a demon. You know. So that's the answer to her. You can tell her next week when you see her. Yeah. She was saying, well, how can you get a demon? Why? What was her question? It said, how can they have a child if they're demons? Right? Yeah, you get a demon child. You see anything? Boy killed. Parents bought him a gun, and he killed 15 kids in his class, in his school. Oh, I see what you see it?
There was some news on October 24th, but not anything latest. Maybe not exactly. 2 killed in shooting at St. Louis High School, gunman dead. This is October 24th, 2022 news. When I searched, a 15-year-old shoots up school.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
No, there's one kid, he killed a whole bunch of other kids. You have to put in purchased. Parents give a gun to their son for Christmas, and he went and killed, let's say, put 10 kids in a school in the United States. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma
Bandhamui Sabadana Mate
Andamui Savadana Mate
Bandhamui Sabadana Mate
Mandamui Savadana Mate
Janara Prasade Bhai He Bhavatoriya Jai
Yahara Prasade Bhai He Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoy Te
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te
Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chitete Koriya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Arana Kori Ho Mani Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Arana Kori Ho Mani Asha
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati
Guru Jerani Rati Aise Uttamagati Ye
Ye
Prasade
Prasade Pure Sarvasa
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasha
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa
Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasha
Chakshudana Dila Jai Janme Prabhu Se
चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
Divya Gyani De Prakasito
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित
Prema Bhakti Jahate Avidya Vinasa Jate
प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ हो अविद्या विनाश जाते
Vede Gajana Charito
विवेगा जहर चरितो
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Prabhana Janara Bandhu
गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जे नार बंधु
Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adana Janara Bandhu
गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदम जे नार बंधु
Lokenat Lokera Jivana
कनाल के जीवाना
Lokenat Lokera Jivana
लोके जीवाना
Ha ha
Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya.
Prabhu Koro Doya Deha More Padachaya.
Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Padachaya.
Prabhu Koro Doya Deha More Padachaya.
Ebijas Gusukti Bhuvana.
Ebijas Gusukti Bhuvana.
Ebijas Gusukti Bhuvana.
Gusukti Bhuvana.
Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Namaste Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Bhaskatya Desatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura.
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajagachasta Tarasatara Shri Shimad. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Shri
Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hi, Gaura. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Samaveda. All glories to Shikadu and Shikaranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Patita Pavane ki jai, Gaura Premanandi. Hari Bol. Namo Om Vishnu. The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great honor. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my conscience purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet, perfection fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with eternal knowledge. He is my Lord, God of birth. From him ecstatic flame emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto me. Give me the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the 3 worlds. We take the shelter of the feet of God. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Krishna Krishna Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurmai Sesa Sunivari Paskati. Good. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama,